Well, folks, in today's video, we're going to be working on this vintage lifelike Penn Central locomotive. This was something I picked up in a lot off of eBay real cheap. I think it was like the equivalent to $5 or something like that. And it doesn't run. So yeah, we're going to try to get this thing working today. I don't know specifically what the problem is. We did try to test this in a previous video and it didn't go, obviously. The drive might be seized. It could have an electrical problem. I don't entirely know, but we'll see if we can get this thing running again. Anyway, we're going to take this thing over to the track and just see if we can figure out what exactly is going on with it. I know we already tested it, but it will just show kind of what the condition of this thing is right now, and we might be able to get a little bit more information on it. So let's go test it out. All right, let's see what exactly is going on with this thing. So there's 8 volts in the track, got a working headlight. You can hear the motor trying to go, but the engine's not moving and we've got really high current draw. So it would appear that we have a seized drive, so I don't know what that would be. It could be old lubricants, it could be dust and hair in the gearbox, who knows. But let's bring it over to the workbench. We'll crack it open and see if we can remedy whatever's preventing this thing from going. I'm kind of curious to see what exactly is specifically preventing this thing from going. I find that's one of the exciting parts of working on these old locomotives, is you never really know what you're going to encounter when you open them up, and I don't know, just the kind of mystery of it I find is sort of exciting. Anyway, we've kind of got this drive out. We just need to pull up that tab right there and we should be good. And there's our drive. Now, if we try to turn this over manually, it is moving, but it's pretty stiff. This, I would say, is probably not running a really long time. Let's have a look at the gearbox here. Okay, I think I got it. That's not all that bad. So I'll pull all of this out because we really should clean all of it, but this is not really all that bad. I was expecting to see something pretty wicked, but the motor is still really stiff, so I don't know if somebody gave this thing like some really bad oil or the lubricant that's in it has just dried up, but something's a little off there. I'm gonna try just putting a little bit of oil in the bearings and we'll see if that frees it up. It's possible this thing has just been sitting for a really long time and everything's just a bit stiff, so we'll see if that helps. It might take a moment for it to kind of soak in there, but yeah, I think it's starting to free up. I want to have a look at that commutator too, because that could be the source of our problem as well. Unfortunately, on these older lifelikes, the commutator is really difficult to access. I don't know why they designed it like this, but certainly one of the parts of working on these things which I find is a little annoying. Yeah, this is not what you're supposed to do, obviously, but it should be good enough for us to just get in there and just clean things up a little bit. Managed to get slightly better access to the commutator by just pulling the wires through there and leaving this piece intact. This just allows us to work on this without having to unsolder anything. It's not the end of the world to unsolder stuff, but I just find it's a little bit easier, and you avoid the risk of burning plastics and stuff, which are very hard to replace, as you might imagine. Anyway, we're just going to go at this with a fiberglass pencil, and we'll clean up the commutator. I can already feel this motor starting to free up, so I think that those lubricants are doing their job. We'll zoom this in here just so you can really have a good look at all this. And I'm just going to clean the little gaps out on the motor. I know I'm going to sound like a broken record saying this, but I really just can't stress how crucial it is to clean these little gaps out. I've seen so many old locomotives, stop working just because these gaps eventually get full of carbon and that causes short circuits. And if you're not careful after enough time, you can end up junking the commutator, which basically wrecks the whole armature. So it's really important that you clean these out. Your engines will run a lot better, and you just extend the lifespan of the motor significantly by doing this. Alright, well, I'm pretty happy with how that's looking, so we can now put this whole thing back together. I'm going to try to feed this brush back up through there. And And this little insulator just came off this. Always make sure you got insulators on these things, because sometimes, you know, you can open these things up and you miss that. I've done it a couple times, and obviously these are really important because they prevent a short circuit, so always keep an eye on those. Anyway, let's try to get this all back together now. It's not really great for the spring to be bending it out like I just did either, by the way. But so this is what you got to do. So that's turning well now, so that's good. Okay, I'm gonna get some wires. I'm just gonna test this out just to make sure it's all working before we go trying to like put things back together. But I suspect that that might have been the source of our problem right there. All right, moment of truth. I had something for a moment there. Yeah, there we go. It's coming back. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. These motors are not high quality, but they're not the worst motors out there. I mean, they were 5 poles. It's really unfortunate that Lifelike ironically put worse motors as they went on in their locomotives, because these, I believe, are the exact same motors that they use in their 2nd generation locomotives, and provided you maintain them, they work okay. They're not the most efficient out there, but they're not awful, I will say. They can last a pretty long time. Anyway, we're now going to put the rest of the drive back together. I'm going to just clean up these parts a bit. They're not really dirty, but I'll just scrub them a little bit with some alcohol, and that should improve them just a little bit. Unfortunately, it would appear that all the wheels have cracked, so they're slipping on the axles. This makes them quite easy to remove, however, and I was wrong. There actually is a little bit of old lubricant on here, and it's coming off in pieces because it's so dry. That's crazy. So we'll clean that up. Well, I think it's safe to call that an improvement. Now we just need to figure out the whole situation with the wheels. And of course, since these are plastic wheels, they don't pick up power or anything, so I think we can probably just put a little bit of CA on there and hope for the best. This isn't a perfect solution really, but yeah, we're not dealing with a terribly valuable locomotive either, so just as long as we can get this thing running decently, that's all I want. Let's make sure that that's even on both sides. While we wait for the glue to dry, we'll start reassembling the drive here. So I'll just put that back in there, and then put a little bit of oil on everything. And we'll put a little bit for each of the bearings here. And these are nylon parts right here, so very low friction. But a little bit of oil and grease is not going to hurt them. It will really just help everything move just a bit smoother. And now we'll put the gears back in place. The teeth do have a bit of a direction on them, so we'll just make sure that everything is rotating as it should. And it seems to be fine. Alright, we can now put this piece back on. I don't think it matters which way it goes in this case. Sometimes these things are directional, but I think this one you just need to snap it into place. And I believe with that, we have our whole drive back together, so we just need to get that back inside the locomotive. And it should be good. Coupler's going a little wild there. All seems good. I just want to quickly take this front truck out now and just make sure everything's good in that respect. Just finished cleaning up the wheels here, so I believe this engine's good to go. Let's take it over to the track and test it out. Moment of truth time here. Let's get her set up and give her some power. Oop. That's weird. Don't know what would be causing that. Ah, yes, there we go. Well, can't explain why it was fighting us a little bit there in the beginning, but seems to be running just fine now, so I think I'm pretty happy with that. Overall, not too difficult to fix, and yeah, it's running fairly consistently. It doesn't seem to be struggling too much. Current draw leaves a bit to be desired. It's certainly not the most efficient, but these things rarely ever are. That's pretty average for it. Let's see, this thing even runs consistently at a lower speed. Well, folks, that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you all enjoyed. I'm overall very pleased with how this engine turned out. Seems to be running fairly consistently, and yeah, overall just isn't performing too bad for an engine of its quality, and especially for what I paid for it. So yeah, very happy with that. Anyways, with that, I'd like to thank you all so much for watching.